going on, everybody? We are back here today with another video, and today we have got our first collaboration. I am your host, aka Beyond the Tube, or you guys can refer to me as Slayer or Az. And today we are going to be talking with one of our featured guests. He has been all the rage in a lot of his free-to-play videos, and he has recently entered into the arena here. He is 7th to 8th months into the game, and a perfect element to kind of help scope out our veteran experience with some newcomer experience. Please give me a warm welcome for Rayge.
Well, first of all, Az, thank you for having me on here. I really do appreciate you reaching out, us making a video together. This has definitely been something I've been looking forward to, as I've only been on YouTube for a few months here. But as you mentioned previously, I have been involved now for I've been playing the game for a little over actually 9 months now. So hoping my experience, as well as can you talk about how long you played the game for? But I think our experience today, we can at least outline a very decently beginner-friendly legendary farming guide for folks out there, and especially helping this community grow.
Great question, and I just hit the milestone for 1,020 days. So that is quite a bit of days. I think that's roughly 3 years, and it's I think right now it was great you reached out, and as we are both free-to-play players, I think it's great for us to kind of scope out and talk about this legendary farming guide that we've got for you guys today. And we're just gonna, we're gonna move on to the purpose of this, and obviously we want to simplify the farming for you guys for the end game. We want to make sure you maximize and best utilize those resources. As we've both realized, we've had numerous discussions about which legendaries are the best, which ones should you be aiming for, and we've all realized that not all of them are created equal. Do you have anything to add to that, Rayge?
Yeah, thanks. And once again, thanks for having me on here as well. I do appreciate it. I think it's just gonna be great to have your experience being, in that whale category. Forgive me, but a lot of players do question whether or not. Yeah, a lot of players do question whether or not you're actually free to play. But I followed you for a while, man, and you've definitely been a huge inspiration for my channel. So shout out to you. I think today, with the mix of my experience being fairly newer to the game, as well as your veteran experience, we can really outline a nice kind of guide for beginning players. So I definitely wish I had this when I was starting out. So definitely, I'm glad to be a part of it. So thanks for having me. Without further ado, man, just have at her, and I'll feel free. I'll stop in whenever I can chime in, but just go right ahead, man. This is your show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rayge. And I mean, while I'm talking to you can jump in as well. But again, we've gone into numerous discussions now, and as all of you may already know, there is a new update in the game, and they've basically had the Doom's influence impact the game, and obviously that's tweaked a bit of the farming nodes now, especially for the heroes and the villains campaign. And why is that important? Well, that's important because it tweaks and changes a few things, and now we've kind of reassessed, which legendaries should you really be gearing for. I did a previous guide, and I believe it was we started with defenders, and then we went with guardians, and then that kind of progressed through the Brotherhood teams, and then you kind of work down to Black Bolt, and then obviously eventually to Phoenix. But now with the recent changes to the game, we felt like this was a better path to go. And obviously the Avengers getting revamped as well here. That's obviously been one of the turning points as well for us to kind of revamp a bit of the end game content, because obviously you only get so much gold and you only get so much resources in the game. So why are you gonna waste your resources on leveling up Luke Cage or Jessica Jones if they don't really have any end game potential, right? Do you agree with that assessment?
I mean, personally, in my opinion, I think there's always going to be a place, for me, for my situation. If you guys haven't checked out, my Dark Dimension video to unlock was only possible because I was able to use my defenders in Dark Dimension 1, and they eventually got me through there. So, I mean, it kind of works hand in hand. I do believe there's always going to be characters in the beginning when newer players start off, but this hopefully gives you guys a reference point in terms of who you can work on. But I think, obviously, if you have access to Luke Cage and them at the very beginning, beginning players are going to definitely utilize them, just because those are the only characters around. But obviously we want to stress that there's going to be a time and place for them, but there's also a balance between knowing when to stop investing in them, because there's obviously, like you said earlier, not everyone's created equal. Some characters are going to be better, and you definitely don't want to overspend and overinvest if you don't need to, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I think that's enough of us jabbering on. Let's get on with this guide. So the purpose of this guide, like we already mentioned, it's gonna simplify your farming for the end game, and it doesn't necessarily reflect the absolute way you should go about it. It's just we looked at it and we kind of categorized each legendary, and we figured out, you know, is this one really worth it, or is it better off if you skip this guy and you move on to a better, more bang for your buck kind of value. So anyways, without further ado, let's jump into the first team here. We've got our Sinister Six and Spiderverse crew. So you guys will see here on the caption there that you know, we've got Green Goblin, we got Venom, we got, you know, Shocker, and then we got obviously Rhino and Vulture and Mysterio, and then Spiderverse characters. I didn't have enough room to slap everybody on there, but you guys get the point. And in the next slide, we're going to talk about Phase 1. So obviously, best value. Since Doom's influence has entered into the game, we've got ourselves access in early on in the Heroes campaigns to Mysterio, who was recently only available in raids, and then Shocker, who was actually in a Cosmic node. So now he's jumped into the Heroes Chapter 3 campaign. And then you've got Green Goblin getting bumped to Villains, low Chapter 2. And then you've got, you still got Venom there on Nexus. And then you got Rhino, excuse me, on Blitz. And then, like I said already, you can get Vulture from Arena as well, early on access once you hit level 25, if I recall correctly. But as you guys will see there with that Spider-Verse team, if you're going right for the Sinister Six, right from the get-go, you're going to have access to Shuri, and you're going to have access to Invisible Woman, which both characters you can pretty much push into tier 14. I've got both of them for Dark Dimension 3, and I've ran that twice now, and both of them were key pivotal parts in my crew.
We did take a step back and ask ourselves the question here, you know, is the exclusion of the Guardians of the Galaxy appropriate? Because that was, you know, when I started the game, and back in February, March, that was how I was building my team, right? But seeing this now, seeing this more clearly laid out, especially with the revamps thanks to Doom changes, just having access to Mysterio, Shocker, Green Goblin, and then you can already get access to Vulture as well as Rhino in the stores. That's an instant legendary right there. You know, from the get-go, if you guys can get your hands on that right away, you can work on unlocking Invisible Women, and you can also utilize those very same characters for Shuri. And honestly, any symbiote characters that you get on top of that is just going to be that extra top up that you need to get through. So 100% I agree with this assessment. I think these two are probably the best ones to start with, and honestly speaking, both are used in my arsenal right now. And if you guys have checked my earlier videos, Dark Dimension 2 Invisible Woman was a game changer for me. Shuri would have definitely done the same thing. And they're both utilizing my arena. They're utilizing almost every mode of the game, as well as raids. I cannot stress this enough. I think Phase 1 here, completely agree with you. I think this is the most appropriate given all the changes. Anything you feel free to add, Az?
No, I think you've pretty much said it there. Like I said, I think these guys, if you're going for the best value, it's definitely the best way to start. There's no point in spending your hard-earned arena credits on subpar characters like Drax. You can get Gamora through Blitz, and you can get Mantis through Blitz as well. So previously, I had mentioned that the Guardians was a really great team to go for.
And sorry, Az, if I may, like a great point you just outlined. But you know, in my opinion, right, it's like if you had arena credits and raid credits, you know, at that time, it's better spend elsewhere. We'll talk about that later in the video. But you know, an example is the one you just laid out in terms of Drax. You know, does it make sense to spend arena credits on Drax as opposed to someone that can actually get you potentially 2 legendaries, right? Especially now, given where Star-Lord's place is in the game. You know, barely anyone's using him. Guardians of the Galaxy definitely need a buff, right?
And that's exactly it. I mean, when I was playing back even last year when we just got Dark Dimension 2 with Ultron, I had pushed Raccoon, I had pushed Groot, I had pushed Star-Lord all into tier 13. But now, I mean, you're 9 months into the game, and how many of those characters, now that you got Ebony Maw and you've got Invisible Woman up to 13, how many of those characters have you pushed to 13? Like Groot, if we're talking about Groot, Raccoon, or Star-Lord, have you even considered having them for Dark Dimension 2?
To be honest, quite frankly, I followed a lot of your methodology in terms of growth and development, and honestly speaking, it's like, why would you spend more characters on T? getting them to tier 13 for Dark Dimension 2, ultimately tier 14 for Dark Dimension 3 if you don't need to, right? In my opinion, I wouldn't invest in someone I'm not going to utilize anyway. So that's why the 5 I utilized, if you guys have checked out my earlier videos, you know, it already includes Invisible Woman as one of them. If I had an opportunity to get Shuri, I would have already utilized her as well. It honestly just doesn't make sense to use any of those Guardians, just because at this point in the game, they don't really have a place, but with the exception of just being an auto blitz team, you know, and potentially war, but that's basically it.
And that's exactly it. I mean, most people have already threw Minerva and Vision off to other teams, and then they've pretty much stuck with Drax and Gamora. And then once you get rid of Raccoon and Star-Lord, that team's pretty much useless, right? So anyhow, exactly. I think that's as much as we're going to talk about here for Phase 1. But essentially, in the previous video, I had in my previous Legendary video, the first team I had recommended highly was the Defenders. But now that we have early access, we can get access to Sinister Six, and with Sinister Six, you can get access to both Shuri and Invisible Woman. You don't even have to waste your Blitz credits on Miles or Spider-Man. You can go right for the good stuff by going for Rhino, Vulture, you know, Green Goblin, Blaster, or sorry, excuse me, Shocker, and like I said, you can go right for the good stuff. The best bang for value.
The next team here is we're taking a look at the Avengers. You know, great job with the templates here, by the way. I love the look of it, but you know, essentially what we're looking at here is the transition between Phase 1 and Phase 2, and we're highlighting the Avengers, not only that, but because of the fact that with the recent rework, you know, it's interesting. And you know, this team collectively does not get you a legendary, right? Which kind of defeats the purpose of this guide, but you need that transitional team to essentially build characters for the next phase. In this case, you know, there's going to be some utilization here because not only is the Avengers now rebuffed, but you also definitely need them later stages of the game. You know, specifically, especially for Heroes Campaign 7, that's currently the one I'm working on right now. You need these guys, and ultimately Doom as well. So with that being said, it's great because not only are you able to work on a collective team here, but as you can see, these are key pieces to other teams. You're going to be working on Thor, which is going to be prominent later for ultimately obtaining Black Bolt, and then later utilizing Black Bolt as part of the Ebony Maw legendary unlock. Furthermore, Iron Man is going to come naturally when you unlock these 3 shields. So even working on Black Widow, Captain America, Hawkeye, that's already going to get you Iron Man, who's going to be a pivotal part of the Power Armor team. So this is going to be the transitional stage. Doesn't specifically unlock a legendary collectively, but individually, these guys are going to help a lot of newer players. And this is definitely different from other guides out there now because this is brand new. This rebuff, the revamping to this team that much deserves it, has definitely changed the dynamic in that sense. Feel free to add anything.
Yeah, and I'll stop you. I'll stop you there, Rage. I know you kept mentioning that it doesn't collectively unlock a legendary, but I think we did discuss that. Technically speaking, Iron Man is a legendary, so I mean, the moment you unlock Black Widow and Captain America, technically, I mean, you can use them for Iron Man. But yeah, I mean, Iron Man's kind of floating around now in my roster. We've got you know, the Power Armor mixed with Ultron, finishing off the Marauder, you know, Emma Marauders, whatever you guys want to call it. But yeah, we've got Iron Man floating around there. Now what people have done is they've slotted him back in with the Avengers, or First Wave Avengers, and it's been a pretty good team. You know, he does that extra damage with Captain America, not to mention it gives him that extra block chance, and not to mention if they hit Iron Man, guess what? Thor gets that charge and he can lay the beat down. So I mean, ultimately, this isn't, you know, it's not technically a legendary, because by the time you get Medic unlocked and you get, you know, Shield Trooper and whoever else, you'll unlock Iron Man as you'll play the game. So it's not really an intended, you know, it's not really an intended goal, but it ends up working out that way. But by the time you guys get Captain America, Black Widow, and then obviously Hawkeye up, it's just gonna form that nice team that meshes well together. You'll get Hulk along the way as well once you do the milestones and the objectives or whatever. And I think right now the really caveat to this team is the fact that we can get access to Captain Marvel as well here. She's available in, I believe, Chapter 5, if I'm not mistaken, and she's available right now until the end of the year. So these Doom influences, they'll discontinue and they'll be gone by January the 1st, 2021. But in the meantime, we have to put these guys in here because you have to take advantage of the changes right now. And we've got Black Widow, which was normally available in Chapter 7 of Heroes, and now you can get her pretty much first chapter of Villains. And Captain America, same thing. Like they made him early access and changed and tweaked a bit out on the Nexus as well. And then you have early access to Hawkeye already. And if you're high enough, you can also have access to farming Thor in the Doom's chapter. So again, it's the same thing with the Sinister Six. It just forms all these key pieces and these key elements. And I mean, between you and me, Rage, like, don't you think if we're putting the Avengers up with other former legendary teams, like for example Guardians, don't you think I've played them enough in Blitz, and I would put them much higher on the tier than the Guardians. They're just a much better, well-balanced team right now in terms of damage, defense, and they've got the speed up and the defense up. Unfortunately, the Guardians, that's something that's missing, quite direly in their team, and I feel like it meshes really well in this team. So,
no, 100% I agree with you, as just because of the fact that their utility right now, and again, they do have end game potential, and I don't know, I got some good hopes for this in the future. Maybe with the Black Widow release movie, there's gonna be some more revamps coming, but I'm glad they made this change. And this is definitely gonna help the beginning players, man. It was not in it for Foxnet or Scopely to get money out of this, because most people had them maxed out already. So, all in all, it was a good feel-good story just to finally see that revamp coming.
Absolutely. I think a lot of meta players, especially for myself, I mean, you never really even farmed these guys because you were focused on all the other good stuff. But I mean, I was starting out, and this was the initial meta team, and this was the go-to team initially for us. So we've got XMen Brotherhood here, and this is obviously one of my favorites, and I think everyone's favorites. One of the best teams right now in terms of their offensive prowess, because with X-Men and Brotherhood, they'll unlock Magneto, who's just infamous right now. I love Magneto. He's been a personal favorite of mine, especially in the TV animated series based in 1992, and obviously in the movies as well. And he has just been one of the best characters in the game. It seems like it doesn't matter what type of team that comes out. If you've got a big Brotherhood team and more, they'll punch through anything. They can punch through the absolute biggest walls that I've seen, and they can punch up so much. And they shine in all the game modes, and on top of that, if you're working on the key pieces to getting Magneto unlocked, you're also working towards content towards the end game as well. So I mean, you'll get Wolverine at the start because he'll be available in the objectives, but once you can start farming Mystique. Colossus is a bit out of reach because he is in that infamous Chapter 7 of Heroes, so unfortunately you can't farm him from day one, but I have him in there because he is still an X-Men. And then you can start farming the other key pieces, like in the Arena store and in the Raid store, and also in the War store when you have access to that. But you can pretty much farming the key pieces to the Brotherhood team. You've also got Toad and you've got Blob in there as well. I didn't slap them in there, but obviously they're available in the Arena and in the Blitz store, and you can start farming that pretty much from day one if you want. Like I said, they mesh really well into the mid to late game, and I'm right now in the process of pushing most of these guys up into tier 13, especially with Magneto, because yeah, you want to punch through those big walls in war. You leave it for the big boys, and Brotherhoods are the big boys.
No, and it's beautiful because I believe Magneto generally follows Invisible Woman and precedes Shuri, so it does work hand in hand with the order that beginning players can aim to unlock. Additionally, if you guys look here too, you get Sabretooth here is available in raids, Juggernauts in Arena. Pyro is going to be the one that's kind of harder missed, just because the War store is always that niche store, and being able to get that really hard to get War energy, right? And War credits. With that being said, Wolverine's given already, and then Storm and Psylocke, and those two are probably more attainable than Mystique. So I mean, farmability wise, it's not bad. It's not bad, especially after that transitional stage with the Avengers. So definitely agree with you on everything there. Magneto it makes the most sense from a feasibility standpoint, as well as just investing.
Absolutely. So as you guys will see there, that's pretty much the first 3 phases in this guide.
Thank you, everybody, for checking this out, and we will continue this on part 2, located on Rayge's YouTube channel there. Link is in the description as well here. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, happy gaming.